Hello everyone, how is it today? This is Shenka Ponsley, and you know I like to talk about crypto, decentralized finance, giving you valuable information. And something that happened very recently is information that leaked that the Department of Justice gave it was a court actually gave the approval for seized Bitcoin to be transferred into the US government custody. And now there is a risk of that Bitcoin actually being sold. And that would, of course, mean a lot of impact for the markets, specifically for those who are holding Bitcoin. Is it a problem? Is it a situation where crypto is lost? Or do we maybe see a win-win situation? Is it something positive? That is what we're going to explore today. I personally think that it is a win-win situation. But yeah, let's explore today why that is the case. If you actually hold some Bitcoin, I'd be very interested in knowing. Let me know. Before we continue with the show, actually, I want to give you a disclaimer. This is very important. First, anything you will see in this recording actually is live right now, but some of you will see it as a recording. You have to understand that this can only be considered educational content. Don't make any investment decisions without doing your own research, and of course, consult a professional, a financial advisor. Those are people who spend many years learning how to give advice to people on how to spend their money, and that is definitely not something I am certified to do. All right, let's go back to this court ruling. $6.5 billion US worth of Bitcoin is currently at risk of being sold. And this can only happen within the next 1 to 2 weeks, because the timing here is quite interesting, isn't it? It is just before President Trump will take office, and we know he's very pro-crypto. So let's understand first, for those of us who hold some Bitcoin, let's understand where does this information come from and how accurate is it? Is this just a myth? Is it just a rumor? Or is it actual real information that we can rely on? And for that, I'm going to show you a tweet here that was released by the account DB handle tier 10K. And this account is known within crypto circles to only release to 95% trustworthy information. So it is quite a good indicator for us to look at and then base our research on. Now, as you can see, what was stated is that the Department of Justice cleared to sell $6.5 billion US worth of Bitcoin that was seized in the Silk Road. And what the Silk Road kind of Bitcoin is, we'll briefly talk about that as well. So if we have that information and it is correct, then there needs to be some kind of court order. And we do have that court order here. It is clearly listed, public information. And you can see that Battleborn Investments Company, LLC, against the US Department of Justice. And basically, what this court order says is that this Bitcoin that was seized is now in the custody of the US government, and they have the right to sell that Bitcoin if they choose to do so. And as you know, anything that happens on the blockchain is actually public information. And that is something that a lot of people don't quite understand. They think that everything that is happening in crypto is anonymous, and that is kind of true, but not entirely true. Why? Because once the wallet address that belongs to you is linked to your name, then it is public information, and anyone who knows that this wallet address can be linked to you can track all of your financial transactions. Imagine you have your US bank account or whatever international bank account number, and anyone who knows that bank account can track all of your financial transaction. That would be quite a problem for you, wouldn't it, right? So that is actually important to understand. Within crypto, there is a lot of room for freedom, for anonymity if you choose so, but you also have to be very careful, because once your wallet address is exposed, you can track all the information. And that is actually something that Edward Snowden warned against when we were at the Bitcoin conference in Nashville. He was one of the speakers, and he said that's actually a risk of tokenizing everything, of using crypto for everything, right? So long story short, make sure you keep your wallet address confidential, at least the wallet address where you have your big NASDAQ, your big amounts. Now, why am I talking about that? Well, we can leverage that because it's interesting. The wallet address of the Silk Road money is actually public information. So here it is. This is the Bitcoin address of the wallet that holds that money from the Silk Road. And as you can see, it contains 69,370 Bitcoin, and that equates to a value of almost $6.5 billion US dollars. That's quite a lot of money, isn't it? Now, what is possible in the world of crypto, once you know a wallet address, you can set up these watchers that monitor the wallet address around the clock and then give you a notice when funds are moved. And one of these tools is by Arkham. And essentially what you see is what is in the wallet. So you can see this is actually the same wallet. It's just a different service that gives us more details into what's going on in that wallet. So you can see that there is still the 69,000 Bitcoin, the value of roughly 6.5 billion US dollars. And then here we can see all the different transactions that go in and out of the wallet. Now, most of these are very small. So really, I think we can actually set up a filter here and show only transactions that are above a certain limit. And if we do that, let's see, that's by network. Not sure how to do that right now. But if we were to look at only transactions that are large, you would see that there are no large transactions going in and out. But what we can do is monitor this wallet and make sure that there's no transactions happening within the next 2 weeks. Because if that were indeed the case, like, for example, a test transaction going out, then that would mean that there is actually a risk of that Bitcoin being sold. So what would be the problem with that? Or what would be the opportunity in that? Well, if a large seller dumps, one can really say dump if they choose to sell all of the Bitcoin at once. If they dump all of that Bitcoin, that of course will very heavily impact the price of Bitcoin. It will likely go down. And that happened once in the past, where a government all of a sudden sold all of their Bitcoin holdings. It was not a wise decision on their behalf, but the German government that did that in a similar fashion, and we're going to look at that. So again, I always like to look at the past to predict the future, or at least to help us make good choices, educated choices in what we do with our crypto and with our funds. And we'll look at that, of course, here in a moment. So let's go back here at my slide. And then before we go into the details of today's topic, which is that very, very impactful possibility of the US government selling 6.5 billion worth of Bitcoin, I want to tell you that because of everything that is happening right now, because of me understanding that crypto is the future in finance, because of me understanding that AI and AI agents will take over a large part of the workforce, a large part of technology, and it will all be powered by crypto. Because of all of that, I have actually decided to focus very heavily on that field in 2025. As a matter of fact, I have freed my schedule to only research such information, to have time to be actively trading crypto, to invest and to trade. And also, we are working on something very special, which is the Crypto Alliance. So let me tell you a little bit about the Crypto Alliance, because I think it is something that you should consider joining. And when I say joining, it really just means get on the email list, right? So here is what I and my team will release in 2025 with some very big players that have a worldwide impact. The Crypto Alliance. Why is it important? Well, if you want to be successful in crypto and in investing, you have to be educated. There's so much misinformation out there, which is very dangerous. But news such as the one that came out last night about the government potentially selling large portions of the Bitcoin holdings is super important. We need to understand why that happens and what could happen if it does indeed get implemented. So that means the Crypto Alliance is there to provide very valuable education. And you're asking, well, how can I make sure I get that education? Well, it starts by joining my mailing list. All you have to do is go to the address blended in here, crypto.lifestyle, and then I'll make sure that you don't miss out on that important information. Also, as part of the Crypto Alliance, we implement up-to-date information in the form of probably weekly videos. Now, this is something that I'm still fine-tuning, and there will be a price on that service, but just know that that is part of what the Crypto Alliance does. I will, of course, provide very good and updated information in my shows here in the live streams, but there will also be weekly videos that take it a bit slower, go a little bit more into detail, and also explain how things are done. And last but not least, and I think this is very important, the Crypto Alliance will be a place where I create community, I build community. Now, I don't know if you know, but in the world of cryptocurrencies and investing, there are so many scammers. Scammers that take advantage of you not understanding the technology. Every day I get messages from people who know me, and they say, I received this text, I received this email, I received this instant message, and it wants me to send some crypto here. It looks like blackmailing. Or I do hold some crypto in a wallet and it wants me to click this link. What should I do? Now, these are things that are often occurring within communities that are open to the public, where there's no gatekeeper, where there's no monitoring. And that is what we're going to absolutely avoid in the Crypto Alliance. So again, if you are interested in joining that Crypto Alliance, for now, we're still working on it, but for now, what you can do is you can join the mailing list. Just go to crypto.lifestyle. It's a website. You give me your email address, and in return, I actually send you a link that has a beginner-friendly short masterclass, if you will, that goes over how you can start your journey in crypto. Fantastic. Now, let's go back to the news of the day, and where does that Bitcoin actually come from that the government potentially, again, this is all potentially, nothing is sure, nobody knows this for sure, but the question is, where does that Bitcoin come from? Well, it comes from the Silk Road. And for those of you who don't know what the Silk Road is, the Silk Road was an online marketplace for illicit goods of more and less gravity. I mean, some of what was sold there was cannabis, but then there were, I don't know, you could really buy weird stuff on there. But that was kind of the premise of crypto, which was freedom of transaction. And whenever there's freedom, you can do good and bad things, right? So that was part of the bad stuff. But a lot of good things are happening right now, and that's what we are focusing on. So the founder of this Silk Road, which was only accessible in the dark net, his name was Ross Ulbricht, and he was sentenced to life in prison. And if you know, when future President Trump was campaigning, he was actually announcing that when he gets into office, he will pardon Ross Ulbricht. And nobody knows whether he will indeed do it, but if he does, and it is expected that he will indeed do it, that'll be very good and very positive for the world of cryptocurrencies. But again, the FBI seized Bitcoin that used to be that was used for transacting on the Silk Road, and that is where that money comes from. Now, in terms of timing, because President Trump takes office soon, and because he was very vocal, and again, I saw him in person at the Bitcoin conference in Nashville, he was very clear that Bitcoin is not to be sold, that he promised everyone that if he gets elected, the US government wouldn't sell its Bitcoin. On the contrary, there might be treasuries that will be set up that will have the US government buy and accumulate Bitcoin so that it can act as a hedge against inflation. And some even say that it is the road toward getting rid of all the debt that the government has. And the US has quite a bit of debt, if you don't know. And what's very interesting is that smaller countries, have already gone down that road. One very prominent example is the country of El Salvador, that decided to make Bitcoin its national treasury. And they started dollar cost averaging Bitcoin a while back, and they sit in some very nice profits right now. And essentially, that's what the US wants to do as well. And many states are already announcing that they are setting the foundations for that. This is super bullish, as we say. Bullish means a strong signal for crypto. Anyway, going back to that Silk Road Bitcoin, if indeed the government sells it, the government would have 1 to 2 weeks before President Trump takes office, and then very likely puts a stop to that. If the government sells, how can that happen? Well, it can either happen in an OTC, which stands for over-the-counter sale or by selling it on the blockchain in the free market. OTC, for those of you who don't know what that means, is essentially the sale happens behind closed curtains, okay? And someone pay, like, let's say I have 10 Bitcoin and you are in the market for Bitcoin, you would meet me in person, give me the money, and I would give you the Bitcoin. So it's hidden. A market distribution happens on the centralized exchanges. The US government actually uses Coinbase for that. So if that were to happen, it's visible. And of course, and therein lies the opportunity here, I think personally it's a win-win situation. If the government does proceed to sell that Bitcoin, what happens is that the price of Bitcoin drops drastically. Okay, and we'll look at that, how much that could be, based on a past example where the German government actually did so. What we can expect in either case is vocal support for Bitcoin. Whether it's sold or not, I believe President Trump, because it was part of his campaign, and also RFK and Vivek Ramaswamy, they have to make public statements. And that alone is good, because if important people like them speak about Bitcoin, then it is in people's mind. And if you have mind share, then that is very powerful for the underlying asset. So I think it's a win-win situation. It's advocacy on the highest level for this very precious asset, this cryptocurrency, that I believe is going to be life-changing for so many of you. It's been for me. It's been for me. And if you want to know how, if you want to listen to the story of how Bitcoin has changed my life, I highly encourage you to go to crypto.lifestyle. It's blended in here. Give me your email address and I'll send you a beginner-friendly course that teaches you how to safely and the correct way start DCAing into Bitcoin. As part of that video, you'll also hear my story of how I started in Bitcoin and why it was good for me. So as I said, there was, you probably heard it in the news, the German government sat on a bunch of Bitcoin. Actually, it was about half of what the US government could potentially sell in the next 2 weeks. It was 3.5 billion US dollars worth of Bitcoin. And what they did is they just sold it in one fell swoop. They didn't lather in or out. They didn't do it in a very nice way. They literally dumped that Bitcoin. And what happened at that point is that the price of Bitcoin fell by 20%. So right now we're looking at potentially twice the value of this Bitcoin being sold. And one thing that the markets don't like, and this goes for crypto and stocks, by the way, is uncertainty. So whenever there's uncertainty, and there's certainly uncertainty right now about what the government will do, prices are going sideways or down. Now, if indeed, and this is a big if, I'm not saying at all that this will happen, but if indeed that Silk Road Bitcoin will be sold, it could potentially mean a correction of more than 20%. Because if Germany sold 3.5 billion worth of Bitcoin and the correction was 20%, then what will 6.5 billion do? Nobody knows, but I think one thing is for sure is that there will be a drastic drop in the price of Bitcoin. And don't forget, we're in the midst of the bull run, right? So we're really supposed to see everything go up. What I think, and here's where I see the win-win situation. What I think is that no matter what, if you hold Bitcoin spot, as we say, meaning you don't have it on leverage, but you just have actually custody of your Bitcoin, just sit tight. I think, what will happen is Bitcoin will go down if it gets sold, and then Bitcoin will be available at an amazing discount, like maybe a 30-40% discount. That would be a blessing. That would be such a blessing. Imagine you are able to purchase Bitcoin at a 40% discount, and then knowing that the bull market is very likely still not over, according to most experts and indicators, then you could make life-changing profits within the next 6 to 12 months. It's definitely possible. If it does not happen, if Bitcoin is not sold, if the government doesn't sell, or if Trump intervenes, wow, that's super positive too, because that just means that the most important government, in my opinion, in the world has validated that this asset is worth holding. Okay, so we all understand it's a win-win situation, really. You either get a discount on Bitcoin and all other cryptocurrencies, by the way, because Bitcoin is like the father and all the little cryptocurrency children follow. So if Bitcoin dumps, then everything will be available at a discount. And your favorite meme coin or your favorite altcoin might have an even bigger correction. So for those of you who are currently holding crypto, you just have to be strong and have, at least that's what I'm doing with my crypto, have diamond hands, right? I don't think that's my personal opinion. Again, this is not advice, because nobody can predict the market. But I personally don't think that the bull market is over. I think that we will have some great opportunities to get discounted assets, and if not, if that correction doesn't happen, well, then it's even better, right? So win-win situation. All right, I think that's it for today. If you have any comments, put them in the chat right now so I can react to them. Otherwise, you will look at the recording. Let me just go quickly back to the Crypto Alliance. As I said, I think it is time for an alliance. You need education that is correct. You need information that is up to date, and you need community. All of that is something I am focusing on in 2025. And if you want to be part of that, again, I'm fine-tuning that right now. I'm working with some people who have a worldwide impact to make sure that we get together a nice group of people. But if you want to know when it's time to join, go to crypto.lifestyle. That will actually change to mycryptoalliance.com, but for now it's still crypto.lifestyle. And join the list. Join the list and get a free beginner-friendly video that teaches you how to DCA Bitcoin, and also how to, it also tells you my story of how I started with Bitcoin back in 2016, actually, and how it was a life-changing event for me, quite frankly. Awesome. I think that's all for now. Listen, make sure you stay safe, you stay educated, you listen to the right people, you have fun, and most importantly, possibly set yourself up for life-changing opportunities. Don't miss out. I have videos on my YouTube channel. Just look up my name. Don't miss out on that huge trend of AI agents. I will create more content around it, but I truly believe, maybe to the dismay of many, that AI agents will dominate the professional landscape in 2025. Many of us, including myself, will likely be replaced by that technology. So that means that the way we produce income ceases to exist or gets drastically weakened. So the only way to act against that is by owning the technology that replaces us. And the way to own the technology is to either own the stock of the companies that power the technology, that create those chips, or to own the underlying crypto asset that these AI agents will use to pay and transact with each other in a trustless and permissionless manner. That's it for now. I'll be back probably tomorrow on this platform. Thank you for your attention. Goodbye.